So now we're on to day 5. So let's go ahead and look at exactly what you're expected to do. Notice step 1, you're going to review all the questions you got incorrect, simply to start recognizing which themes you struggled with the most so that you can pay extra attention when we actually cover that theme. It's not necessarily to go super in depth or take too much time. And if you want, you could start looking at the explanations of how to solve them. I wouldn't take more than about 10 minutes to do that. So let's look at how we would do it. So when we click here on review practice test number 1, I give you the link to go right to your test results. If you're already logged in, it'll be easy, but obviously if not, you'll just have to log in at first. I'm gonna go to one that's a little bit more realistic. I'll go to this one instead of the one that I got a 400 on. And then you can look at the different domains of questions, which we already discussed in the program overview video. Now the goal here is to look at the 4 domains for reading and writing, the 4 domains for math, kind of get a feel of which particular domains you're doing really well in and which ones you're struggling in. Notice it even says the difficulty level, with the goal obviously being that you're getting to the point where they're giving you all the level hard questions because you're just excelling that much on the test. Now something that is interesting is notice for the math, I have all full bars. However, I did, if you go to the math section, end up getting 1 question incorrect. However, that still produced a perfect score in the math section. And you can also recall from the program overview video that if we look at the table of contents, we can compare which domains we're doing really well in versus which ones we're struggling in. So that way, when we do cover those in class, you pay special attention knowing that it's something you need to improve on. Now here we see all the questions in their entirety. I think that could be a little overwhelming. So let's go section by section, reading and writing first. We'll go down here and you can see which ones you got correct versus incorrect. You can go ahead and click here to go to the next page. And you're gonna try to find the ones that you got incorrect. Click on review and look at the answer explanation to see why it is what it is and why it's not what you put. Sometimes the description will give you an idea of what theme it is. For example, here it mentions coordinating main clauses, which likely means that we're dealing with linking clauses. However, it would be much nicer if College Board outright said what that theme was, or even what domain it came from. Then once we X out of there, we can go ahead and continue this process, look for any questions we got incorrect with the same goal of just understanding the rationale, starting to kind of tuck it away in your mind. We'll get out of there and then we can finish it out for any remaining ones. And then we'll do the same thing for math. We'll go ahead and look through. And in this case, like I said, I only got 1 wrong, but I still got a perfect score. Just depends on the level of difficulty of the test. Now, as you can see, the explanation for this question is pretty intense and difficult to understand by just reading through it, which is exactly why for all 462 math questions that you're going to complete over your 10 weeks with us, I provide you with worked out solution videos for every single one. The second thing you're going to do on day 5 is watch the video on how to fill out your goal tracking sheet and fill out yours at the same time. So let's go ahead and look at step 2 here. And it's really important that you'll watch the video that's located above in this specific section and then follow my steps for figuring out your weekly and big picture goals. And in that video, I reference a specific website. Here's the link to that conversion website. And now we're on to step 6, where we're going to go ahead and submit your homework by midnight the day before your next class. So let's go ahead and click here and you can see everything that you're expected to submit during this first week of homework. Now, if you're in the small group program that's preparing for the April school test date, you'll only have 2 things to submit. You won't be expected to submit this 3rd item, which is a PDF or screenshot of your confirmation email showing that you're signed up for the test. We always do that for every other group because we want to make sure that they've registered for that Saturday test date. But for the school day test date, you'll already be registered through your counseling department. But regardless, everyone's expected to do these first 2 items by 11:59 p.m. the day before your next scheduled class. So first, you'll submit your practice test number 1 score report, and notice you would go here, taking you to the specific part of the College Board website where your practice test results are. And it's really important that you watch this video, which is just over 2 minutes long, and I show you exactly how to download your score report as a PDF document. Once you follow those instructions, it'll be in your downloads folder. Once you've done so, I'd recommend you just drag it to your desktop so it's easily accessible. And now we're on to step 2, where we got to get the entire side of your current page of the goal tracking sheet, which in this case is page 1. And I'll show you a couple ways you could do this. So if you're an iPhone user, I'm a big fan of actually just going to the notes, choosing the new note feature in the bottom right corner, and then clicking the paperclip icon and choosing scan documents. Now this will be really helpful in my opinion for even your regular classes. You just go ahead, I didn't even have to press anything. I just got the image in a good window, and then you can go ahead and look at it. If you want to retake it, you can. I'll just press done, and then we'll click save. Now, here's something that's good to know. Try to send it to yourself via email if you want by clicking that share icon. However, notice it's just going to share it as a weird file type. It's just going to be an image, really. So I'm going to delete that draft. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and click here, press quick look. And then when I go ahead and try to share it in the bottom left corner, now notice it says a PDF document. So you can go ahead and email it to yourself. You could also share it from the drop-down menu up there and see that it's a PDF document. And depending how you want to send it, you could go to your Gmail app and just send it over. Then going back to your actual computer, you can go ahead and click on that email. You'll see that you have it saved, so I would just click download. And a good shortcut key to know is if you press Control J, you go to your downloads and they're right there. So now that I'm ready to submit, I'm going to click Start Assignment. And notice you're not going to type anything under this answer field. Instead, we're just going to upload the 2 documents or potentially 3 documents if you're preparing for any test date other than the April school day test day. And notice you could drag and drop your assignment template here, so both documents, or you can just click upload, which for me, I think that's easier because I could just go to downloads. And then they're the 2 most recent documents. I'm going to hold shift and click on this one and just do both at the same time. I'll click open and it'll download both of them into this section here. Or you could do them one by one. In case you're curious, you could also just drag them. However, sometimes we have some issues, and notice when I try to drag it, it just kind of is a little bit awkward. So for me, I'd rather just use the upload feature because notice by trying to drag it, it totally got rid of the ability to upload more documents. So sometimes the software has some issues. So I would just upload. Now we'll go ahead and click submit. And you'll see this message saying that you successfully submitted your homework and affirming that's like you, which you'll better understand when you see the Mind Mastery Strategy of the Week in our next class. A couple final things to note. One is notice how on this example I provided of the goal tracking sheet, it was of the entire page, which is important. And then also you should have color coding like this. I can't tell you how many times we have people just totally disregard the color coding system that I thoroughly discussed in this 9-minute goal tracking sheet video. So make sure you're not one of those students. Also, even though the student did a great job of following those instructions, they should not have used pen because notice anytime you want to make a tweak, then you have to just scribble it out or use whiteout. So let's always use a pencil for the goal tracking sheet. And then remember to mark the assignment as complete after you upload it. Otherwise, you're going to get that email from us saying that you didn't complete it, even though you did. So we'll click Mark as Complete, and notice you'll have a little preview of next week's Mind Mastery Strategy of the Week. That's like me, but you don't need to watch it just yet. Now, if you're not a fan of using the note feature, no big deal. You could just go ahead to your camera, take a picture, even though in that case, it doesn't do it automatically for you. You just got to get it in a good position. Same idea. You would then want to email it to yourself. And I always choose actual size. Then when you go back to your email from your desktop, something that is good to know is you could just click on it and you could just download it. However, I'm a big fan of making it a PDF instead of a JPEG or PNG file. So I click on the print icon in the upper right corner. It doesn't actually make you print it. You just click save as PDF instead of an actual printer. And then you could save it wherever you want. For example, I could put it in my downloads and just have it as goal tracking sheet page 1. And then pressing Control J. And then when you click upload, you can see it in your downloads folder. Now, another thing that's good to know is under class resources, we actually do have a link to the Spotlight SAT app. So you would click there from your desktop, and then you can simply right click on the link, click copy link address, and then you could go ahead and email it to yourself. So you'll probably notice I'm a big fan of actually emailing myself things back and forth, whether I'm doing it from my phone or from my computer, and I'll click send. Then you would go to your email app from your phone, click on the link that you emailed yourself. I personally like to use Safari. You can use whatever you'd like. And then it's going to ask you to log in. It's going to be the same credentials that we gave you for the Spotlight SAT platform. I've already logged in, so at this point, I'm just going to click fill password. We'll log in, and then you'll pick your course. Now, something that is really neat is you can click on the share icon in the bottom portion of your screen, and you can go ahead and add to home screen. And by doing so, it's kind of creating an app for you on your home screen. And then in the future, you can always just go there immediately. We'll go ahead and click on syllabus and then scroll down, click on week number 1 assignment, scroll down further, all the way down to submit week number 1 assignment. And I personally feel like the desktop version is more user-friendly, but you could use the app here, click start assignment. And then when you click to upload, you're obviously going to still upload the same documents. So it might be from your photo library if you just took a picture, or if you chose to save to files, you can save it. Notice I have it as SAT prep. Maybe you change it to goal tracking sheet page 1, save. And then now when I go to upload, choose files, you can click recent in the bottom left corner and we can see goal tracking sheet page 1, click open, and it's uploaded. Now, one way or another, you're probably emailing yourself some things back and forth. For example, the practice test number 1 results or the goal tracking sheet, but now you have a bunch of options of how you can submit your homework. So once you've uploaded both or all 3 items for that matter, and you click submit assignment, you still need to click mark as complete. And just like that, you'll have officially submitted your first week of homework. And remember, you got this.